All right, y'all. I want to talk a little bit here, and hopefully this won't become too rambly, but maybe it will. Um, and if you don't like it, you can just stop watching. But the subject of neoliberalism is something that I want to go into a little bit here, just in my own unsystematic way. I'm sure that I could consult some encyclopedic kind of something online, something like Wikipedia or whatever, and they would have some supposedly succinct and supposedly accurate assessment of what neoliberalism is. But then again, Wikipedia is a representative of neoliberalism, is it not? It's an outgrowth of neoliberalism. It's a venue that pretends to be neutral, but really ultimately promotes neoliberalism, and that's the same for just about every mainstream outlet out there, not Wikipedia alone. I want to think about neoliberalism, as somebody who is thoroughly opposed to it, but also as somebody who didn't really understand neoliberalism as the enemy until recently. But then again, I think that it's only been recently that neoliberalism has come into focus as the enemy, because it's only recently that neoliberalism has come to be promoted so heavily by just about everyone. It's either the neoliberals or the neocons. I think the neocons had their day, and now it's more about the neoliberals. But how much do the neocons and the neolibs really differ? I want to look into these things a little bit. Now, it's interesting because it wasn't that long ago. It was, as recently as 2014, not even a decade ago, that one could still criticize American foreign policy and be seen as liberal. And it used to be that was pretty much what made you a liberal, was if you were down on American foreign policy, if you thought American foreign policy was foolhardy and or homicidal and murderous, and just that it achieved all the wrong things for all the wrong reasons, and if you were really down on the U.S. Going all across the world, being the world police, instigating coups where it sees fit, interfering in elections where it sees fit, just doing whatever it wanted, because it was for a while it was one of two superpowers, and then it became the only superpower for a time, and now that's I think being challenged again. But in any case, there was a time when, and it wasn't that long ago, when you could be a liberal, and the defining quality of your being a liberal would be, I am against this war. I am against this intervention. I am against the criminal activities of these organizations, these federal organizations. I'm against the all of the ghoulish and evil things that the CIA is doing across the world and in our own country. I am against the ghoulishness that is so often perpetrated by the FBI within our own country, the things that they get up to, the ways in which they the things I've talked about, like, in the 60s and 70s with what was called COINTELPRO, the way in which they fomented chaos amongst domestic organizations that they were opposed to, or that they saw as dangerous, that they thought were Soviet influenced or Russian backed. That made it okay to not just investigate them, not just have undercover agents go in and see what they're up to, which I think would be perfectly legit, but instead taking a much more aggressive role and a much more what do we call it? Just deciding that it's well within their rights to manipulate and stage various things, to foment rancor between different groups, to have agents get in and start talking bad about, representing one group, talking bad about another group, and then suddenly those two groups are at each other's throats, and to manipulate and to consciously try to create chaos. Not to mention all of the illegal extra constitutional activities, the assassinations, the various underhanded means of doing this, that, and the other thing. You could be at one time against American foreign policy, against the CIA, against American interventionism. You could be against the sending the military to various parts of the world where there is no seemingly vital interest, except something that is seen as bolstering the military-industrial complex, which is what they thrive on war. They make their profits off of war. Raytheon, Boeing, and the rest. And this was, this was at one time. If these were your talking points, you were seen as very much a person of the left. Now, there were also right-wingers who also felt this way, but they were not the mainstream of the right-wingers. The mainstream right-wingers were like, it's patriotic to support the troops, and it's these subversive organizations, they need to be taken down, and it's good that the FBI is getting involved, and we're America, we can do what we want, and I'm tired of all these panty-waist liberals saying something different. And this was sort of the, like, when it came to both foreign policy and to a certain extent domestic policy, when it on such matters as civil liberties, it seemed that the right was more often pro-government, pro-institutions, and pro-interventionism, whereas the left tended to be the opposite. Now, those on the right, like the John Birch Society and the Buchananites and other groups like that, who were against interventionism and who believe in the whole America First thing, they were different. They were kind of a wild card, but that was not the mainstream. that was not the mainstream, and it continued. This sort of paradigm continued even through most of the Obama years. So you had, like it is true that you had certain people who were really critical of American foreign policy and the war in Iraq and the intervention in Afghanistan. They were really against all of that stuff when Bush was in charge, when W was in charge. But then when somebody with a D in front of or after his name took his place, then that criticism just went away. The foreign policy didn't really change, but they just shut up about it because it was their team that was in charge now. It was the blue team that was in charge, and it was like, yay, blue team. It's true that there were people like that. There were definitely people like that. Nevertheless, even in the early teens, I'm remembering Julian Assange having a lot of support from people who called themselves liberals. I remember Lady Gaga visiting Julian Assange in the embassy, in his little room where he'd holed up to get away from the kangaroo court that wanted to hang these charges on him, as he felt, and he had a lot of support. He was exposing things. Edward Snowden likewise had a lot of support. This is 2014, 2015 even. But somewhere in that time period, things radically shifted. There was a radical realignment that rather quickly and rather, with a rapidity that bespoke a kind of violence, violence of heart, or the turbulence of soul, where things just all started to coalesce very differently. And this was right around 2015 or so. Right around 2015 or so, we started to get these really these messages that, here's what it's cool to believe. It's cool to be liberal on social issues, right? So this is one way in which the only way in which the neolibs differ from the neocons. The neocons were sort of maybe to some extent begrudgingly socially conservative on abortion and gay marriage when that was still a hot button issue, and other sorts of things like that. And promoting the traditional family. But the neolibs, said, no, we need to be. It's cool to be, to be pro-LGBT, as it came to be known, and to say, love is love, and abortion rights should be absolute. Everybody, should have a right to abortion, regardless of any other considerations. There's, and also, there shouldn't be any punitive action taken against illegal immigration. Illegal immigrant, they're not illegal, they're just undocumented. They're undocumented, but they should be considered citizens. So, on the one hand, and I think neocons were always also pretty squishy about immigration, but they weren't quite as vocal about it, or they weren't quite as, sentimental about the wonderful peoples of Latin America and all of their beautiful contributions and their wonderful culture. And they weren't really as apt to virtue signal on that, but for them it was more like, hey, it's cheap labor for big business, and that's good. We want that, but okay, so the what came to coalesce as, and came to really harden as the ideology that you must believe in, or else you are a fringe extremist if you differ from this ideology in any significant way. And this started to form in 2015, 2016, and then right around 2017 or so, it had almost completely solidified, and it's remained almost completely solidified ever since then. And it's what neoliberalism has become. And what neoliberalism has become is, yes, we're liberal on social issues, but our institutions are good. They are not to be criticized. We love our FBI. We love our CIA. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not even exaggerating. Having these ideas about the CIA doing bad things or plotting to do bad things, that's right-wing conspiracy thinking now. The smearing of so-called conspiracy theories, the pathologizing of conspiracy theory, of conspiracy theorists, the villainization of conspiracy theorists really solidified at around 2015, 2016, 2017, and ever afterward. As I've said before, there was a time when a conspiracy theorist could be seen as somebody who's, generally means well. Maybe he's a little off his rocker, but he generally means well, and maybe, who knows, maybe he's right about some things, like the movie Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson in the late 90s. That character was somebody who believed in all sorts of seemingly crazy stuff, but it turned out that a lot of the stuff that he believed was true. And he was always a good guy. He was just kind of strange. He was just kind of eccentric. But he was lovable. But the whole idea of conspiracy theorists being in any way lovable, that has gone out way out the door. So now, if you are a member of the respectable left, you believe that the FBI is good and basically beyond reproach, and that critics of the FBI are just fringe right-wing conspiracy theorist crazies. You believe the CIA is good and beyond reproach, that it does good things around the world. The things that it does around the world are necessary and good. You believe in American foreign policy. Yes, sir. You are a big believer in American foreign policy. And unlike with Vietnam and unlike with Iraq, now with Ukraine, and also with as looming possibly with Taiwan, you just got to be 100% in favor of anything and everything that American foreign policy, that the architects of American foreign policy are up to. And you have to hate Russia if you are to be a member of the respectable left, or even the respectable right, the respectable community of the dominant ideology, which is mostly neoliberalism, as I'm talking about it here. Now, these are really extreme positions, and these were not always the mainstream positions. There always have been. There were hawkish people who really were gung ho about keeping the arms race going and preventing preventing communism from spreading during the Cold War, and there were hawks in both parties, both in the Republicans and mostly the Republicans, but also a lot of Democrats were described as hawkish. But it was not seen as you were not seen as on the left anyway. You were not seen as a bad person if you thought all of this Cold Warrior stuff, all this hawkish stuff is really the wrong attitude to take. We need to seek détente. We need to reach a nuclear missile treaty. This, that, and the other thing. This was really quite respectable. Even like a nuclear freeze, no nukes. This was really quite respectable position to take back then if you were on the left. It's not anymore. Now you have people, Hollywood leftists like Sean Penn saying, well, we need to not be afraid of using a nuclear weapon. Yeah, and people applaud, and his buddies and his cronies all say, yeah, you're right. We need to stand up to Putin, and we need to stand up to Russia, because Russia, they're bad. So again, this entire, I think that the support for the war machine, the support for the military-industrial complex, and the support for all of the alphabet organizations, and the gung-ho support for American foreign policy, just all of this, all of these things have. It's not like people haven't believed these things in the past. It's not like the political class hasn't pushed these ideas in the past. But in the past, it was also seen as respectable, especially on the left, to take issue with a lot of American foreign policy matters or decisions. And now that simply isn't the case anymore. That just is not the case anymore. Now, do they? I don't know if they might be framing it a little differently. The rhetoric is not support our troops like it was in, when the neocons were in charge, like as a kind of buffer against being critical of the war. It's like, well, you're against the war. Well, I support our troops. That was the kind of disingenuous rhetoric whereby one could paint one's opponent as unpatriotic or even treasonous, because presumably you don't support the troops. You wish the troops ill if you are against the war. So now I don't know. I don't know what the slogan is. What is the slogan now? You know, it's sort of like trust the UN, trust the international. I don't know. It's like more framed. It's framed in a more international kind of with a more international kind of bent, because it's still, the people on the left are still not like, it's still hard for them to be like, yeah, we love our boys, in the military. That still comes hard. That still does not come easy for them. But nevertheless, every type of American interventionism anywhere, pretty much, it's you have to be on board with it, or else you are a fringe. You're cast into suspicion. You are seen as somebody who's secretly racist. How did it ever get to that? How did it come to that? You're secretly You're secretly in the alt-right. If you're against interventionism, it's just a pipeline that they love. Again, they love that word, pipeline. It's a pipeline to the alt-right. So this is the current state of neoliberalism, and the form that it takes now. I mean, it's sort of like, believe the latest thing. It's the neoliberals who are behind it's the current thing. So you need to get behind it, because you need to get behind the current thing. When it was the stupid the fake pandy. Then it was, oh, stay home and wear a mask and just this is the new normal, and just accept it. The CDC is here to help you, and Fauci is here to help you, and don't distrust these people, or else we're calling your good faith into it. We're going to basically say that you are a right-wing conspiracy theorist, incel, alt-right, crazy. And then it switched over to okay, you gotta fly the Ukrainian flag. You gotta put the Ukrainian flag on as your avatar. So that's been the thing. So the new thing is never distrust authority. Never distrust authority. Except the authorities that we're telling you to distrust. Like the so-called conspiracy theorists, like Trump, and everybody who doesn't support the current administration, and is really just believes in Trump. Like really, it was Trump who set all of this in motion, whether intending to or not. That was how it all coalesced, and now it's become what it is today, and that's what neoliberalism is, as far as I know. If I've missed anything, if I've missed any points on what neoliberalism is, then be sure to let me know in the comments. But essentially, you are neoliberal if in order to be neoliberal, you have to just be fully on board with everything that is being pushed by the various institutions that represent the federal government. You have to be fully on board with the FBI. You have to be fully on board with the CIA. You have to be fully on board with American foreign policy. You have to hate Russia. You have to loathe Putin. You have to hate, loathe, and fear or be against Syria. Anything that the regime, that the current regime decides, now we're against this, you have to go along with that. You have to snap to attention and say, yes, sir, I'm totally with you there. And there really is no independent thought at all. There really is no questioning at all. It's just all about, it's essentially buying into these articles of faith in order to show what a good person you are, in order to put on display that you are not one of those bad people. You also have to believe the media. Like the media is the mainstream media is sacrosanct, and people who cast aspersions against the media, or who call the media out for misrepresenting things, or for outright lying about things, or for not covering things that ought to be covered. Those sorts of people are the bad people, and you have to be somebody who just looks at them with contempt, and you have to stand behind. So yeah, that's another thing. You have to stand behind the mainstream or legacy media, basically the compliant media. They're not state-run media, but they're basically corporate-run, and the corporations the corporations and the state and the media are all of the same alignment, and that is of the neoliberal alignment. So this got a little long, but I just wanted to give some thoughts about what neoliberalism is, since it is the enemy, since it is what I identify as the enemy these days. Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching.